triple threat and a cone head triple threat. We're doing the cone head. It's a reverse tie, so we're tying everything kind of backwards.
Sorry,
It's okay.
I just need to fix this.
So we're going to be using a size 8 3XL long. You can use a 2XL long. Heck, I've got Tiemco hooks that are 6s that are a little smaller than these Daiichi 8s. Go figure. Daiichi Daiichi. So first thing you do is slip on. You want to use a round bend hook so you can get the cone on. Now, this fly was developed by Mike Laskowski of Punta Gorda, Florida, formerly of Titusville, formerly of the Catskills. He originally tied it without a cone head, and it's a reverse tie. So a reverse tie is, everything's going to be tied forward of the hook, and then it's laid back.
Under the new one,
And secured. And he wanted to give it more weight, and he figured out how to get a cone head in here, but to get the material underneath the cone head without wrapping down behind the cone, and you'd have a big space there where you're tied down and finished. He wanted to be able to get everything underneath that cone, and he figured out a way. And it's a really good fly. It's good for steelhead, trout, bass. I especially like this one for the one I'm going to do for smallies. It's just a really good fly on for like river smallies, trip smallies. So now what we're using is a either a 3/16 or size medium cone. And these actually look a tad big, but hopefully we're going to be okay. So you lay down roughly a 1/4 inch base. Now I use 8/0 thread because I don't want to build up bulk, because everything's got to slide underneath this cone. So now that base is all we're going to tie on. There's going to be nothing left on this shank. That's left there. So first things first. This is an emerald shiner pattern. I think his original was a black ghost, which was black over gray over white. That's a really good fly. But I kind of like this one for smallmouth and steelhead. So the first thing we're going to do is take and separate a bunch of polar fiber. Now we're using polar fiber. It's got a real nice sheen and movement to it. I like it better than craft fur just because it doesn't, I don't have to put extra flash on this. So you take it, pinch it, and when you cut this, cut it right to the hide. So I'm going to do that right now. Is this great?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Directly over your hook.
This is what you're going to have left. So you do have some underfur here. Normally, this is enough length. I don't really have to clean out any underfur. I always leave a little bit of underfur in anyway. But what we're going to hear, because of we're twice the hook length, we're going to get a little bit of this underfur in here, what you want. Remember, I think it was Tom Hurd that did a video on this, and he just leaves it all on, and I actually, tried it, and I thought, hey, that's a good idea. So that's what I do. So now I'm going to do, I'm going to flip it around. Tapered end is forward of the hook. We're tying reverse, and it's twice the hook. So there's 1, 2. There's my tying right there. And I'm going to take just a nice, loose, soft wrap around, right up against that cone, up, down, and now I'm just going to wrap back to the end of my base, and then clip. Next is my lateral color. I'm using chartreuse green, and we're going to need 2 clumps for that, 1 on each side. Now here's, like I'm doing this. This is somebody cut this real high up. So now this is why another reason we want to cut this, even though you're not going to use it all, cut it to the base so you don't have to kind of weed through all this to find the good stuff. There we go. So when you cut this too, I mean, you're really looking at the tips more than the base here as far as how much you want to take off. But there's some right here. It's almost the hardest part for me is just to get the right amount off of here, get it together. So there's another clump. Now, if I'm tying a lot of these, I will actually sit and make rows of pre-cut material, so I could just grab and kind of do that production thing. Okay, there's one. Do another one. There's 2. So the next thing is, we don't have to measure this because this is already measured. So I'll put this up to about here. And we can tie one on one side, one on the other side. Or you can measure these. And what I do is I just do them both together. But I wouldn't recommend, if you haven't tied this before, I would just do it one at a time, but this is quicker for me. And it's the same thing, tie back, your tie-in point.
And one thing to keep in mind when tying these on, don't let it spin on the hook. You want to keep them where you want them to be.
And I'll add too is that, like, if they're a little bit off kilter, I mean, your next wrap forward is going to help secure it. You can sit there, get it situated. 2 on the side, I got 1 up. Bring that back forward to my tie-in point. Another thing I should have added, so you could add, say, a couple pieces of Flashabou to this fly. If you're going to add Flashabou on the sides, you would tie it in before you tied in the sides. Because your Flashabou, tying a Flashabou, then the sides, and it seams backwards. Like I said, it's a reverse tie. Once we comb it back, now the flash is on top, the side, instead of buried underneath. So next is the belly color, which was normally, this is an emerald shiner. It's a, we normally used white polar fiber. I like smallmouth bass, and smallmouth bass love pink. So my belly actually is this pale pink. And for river smallies, Allegheny River, Oil Creek, this is my favorite fly. I've had like you see, you're sight fishing smallmouth and you're casting and you get some kind of reaction, and I've thrown this thing out here and had just fish, run many feet to grab it and eat it. find some good. I've noticed too on some of this polar fiber, like especially like this pink, you get a lot of this white. It's a little gnarly. Sometimes a little short. But the good thing is it's the belly, so we can tie the belly a little short if we needed to. So now I got the here.
And this same material works really well on clouser patterns.
Yeah. So it's not much, and I'm probably going to have to take a little bit of this under fur out just to get some length on this. So last part is you measure it. This looks good. Now, if you've got a rotary vise, it makes it so much easier. These regals, these ones here, you can actually spin. You know, if you've got it set kind of straight, just give it a spin. Now we'll get this one on here. Now I tighten. Bring it back. Back. Forward. Just like back. Just want to make sure that's all straight. Get that locked in a little. There we go. Now I'm where I want to be. Cut. And we're about done. This nice and straight. Now comes the whip finish. I mean, if you got musician's fingers, you could do a hand whip finish. Otherwise, you need these extended reach whip finishing tools. And what I'm going to do is take this right in between the top and the sides is where I'm going to lay down my horizontal or vertical thread and just there. And that triangle, you gotta get those fibers through the triangle. Does everybody know how to use a whip finishing tool? If not, maybe one of our volunteers can sit and teach that to you first, and then when you finish the fly, you know, we can reteach it to you. You know, nobody ever gets it the first time, but at least you'll, you know, get the idea of what we're doing. So there. Now I'm gonna get everything situated how I want it. Hopefully these cones are the right size. And now we're gonna use a brassy hair packer. I believe these are size small, size medium will work, you know. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna push, oh, I got ahead of myself. It's always a good idea to use head cement with this fly. So our knot is on a very large diameter section of this fly. That could loosen on you. You know, we're not tight to the shank. So it's a good idea to get a lot of this. Wow, this is really thin. I don't think I'm getting any on the hook here. Get that, let that soak in. Now, got brassy hair pack. You got some real callousy fingers. You're gonna need something to support the tip of this, or the hook eye as you push in, so you don't push the fly out of the vise or bend the hook. So you can use that. You've got to see the end of this is a little too small. You can use anything flat. Don't use your scissors. A hair stacker up against here. I just grab these pliers right here. You hold, and I'm gonna push this in under the cone. And normally you'll hear a little click or pop when it goes. So you just put pressure. I didn't really hear anything. But I'll do that, and I'll make sure that cone isn't going back and forth on the shank of the hook. And it isn't. Here's a nice little notch I can use. There. So, doesn't look much dry. I flip it over and divide the belly fur, you know, between the hook point. I'm just trying to make it look nice in the vise. When it's in the water and wet, you know, it slims down and tapers down. If you need to trim, don't use scissors. You can just use your fingers and tear out. How does that look from? Let me turn it around here. Yeah. And you'll notice too with this cone will spin right here. These cones are, there you go. I could have left a little bit more. When you get a wider cone, you need more underfur to take the space of that cone as it gets laid back. But as you fish this, and it's wet, it looks more like that. And I should just dunk this in water and wet it and stick it, but there it is. So that's one of my favorite smallmouth. I don't know, I just, you know, big conference has it. This is the first time I threw it out there. I was working on this one really nice smallmouth, and I'm throwing, and he just,